How's it going, all you beautiful people? I'm Worst Player, and welcome back to r/entitledparents. EA equals entitled aunt, in her 30s. C equals son of entitled aunt, 5 or 6 at the time, cannot recall. S equals sister, 6. Me equals me, 15. Bit of a backstory. Once upon a time, my relatives from my home country immigrated from India to Canada, and they ended up living in Vancouver. After living there for a year, my mom convinced them to move to the east side. Shout out to my Ontarians. So they moved in with us for a while before they ended up leaving to find other living accommodations. But while they lived with us, was frickin' horrible. C, while I respect is a kid, was this massive jerk that would literally yell whenever he would never get his way. My dad had instance with him where he was in his room doing some work-related tasks when C would walk in and just start either yelling, making a mess, or simply telling my dad to GTFO out of his own room. My dad had a high blood pressure during that time, and his mood would get really crappy when C would irritate the heck out of him. C had multiple incidents where he would start biting S or just pushing her around. Overall douchebag of a kid, but I can't say he was entitled because he was a little too young to know what was happening around him. And my uncle, because of his past with my maternal grandfather giving him the belt, refused to discipline his kid. EA was just equally as bad because she would do nothing to help around the house all day, but she would claim to be applying for jobs and all on her laptop, of which I constantly just saw her watching a movie or scrolling through social media. On to the story! So one day, me and S were playing with her toys because I ended up having the day off from school due to a snowstorm. So EA and C were situated in the basement room. It's because there's a king size that fits my uncle, EA and C. So as I'm playing with my sister, bright and early in the morning, she catches a bus for school around 7:45 and I catch mine at 7:20. We were making minimal noise at the time because of my uncle, EA, and C were still sleeping. At approximately 8 a.m., Uncle walks out to get ready and leave. He ends up leaving around 8:30 a.m. for work. We were still playing because I genuinely don't get enough time to spend with my sister because of homework and extracurricular activities. So at around 9 a.m., out walks EA with the dirtiest look on her face. Here's how it goes. Do you kids not understand that it's very rude to be playing loudly at this time of hour? Sorry EA, I was trying to keep it down. If you were trying, you wouldn't have woken up my angel. Out walks C with a drowsy face, but then instantly starts screeching. Mom, they're way too loud! Hey, sorry kiddo. Do you want to play with us since school's canceled? No. I don't like you. Look how you and S behave to guests in your own house. You guys have no decency to even be the slightest bit quiet while we were sleeping. In retrospect, I should have gone upstairs and played with S there. But she was pretty insistent on downstairs because all her toys were there. Sorry, we'll go upstairs. How does it matter now? You already woke us up. Proceeded to kind of put my head down and just walk away, but I know for a fact in the back of my head that it was literally us whispering earlier. So S, how about you work on your workbook? She was working on those Canadian curriculum workbooks while I check out what my teachers posted for me. Okay, Bubby. That's her nickname for me. So I head to my room for a little bit to see what my teachers have posted online for us to work on and all because of the now snow day. I proceed to work and continue my day. Note that my parents already left for the day, so only EA, me, S, and C were home. About 30 to 40 minutes later, I hear the two kids loudly arguing. So the thing is, S is 6 months older than C, but they're born in different years. So I proceeded to go check on them, and they were arguing about whose workbook it was. It was S's textbook, but nonetheless, C was being a bratty piece of crap about it and yelling. Hey guys, what are you fighting over the book? I can just ask your dad to get you one, C. No need to fight S. C had now started pulling S's hair. Pull C's hand away. Kiddo, you can't do that. It's really mean. I want the book. It's not yours. It's S's book. And even if you wanted, you could just get a lined piece of paper and share the book, then write down your answers as you go. C screeching. No, I want the book! In walks EA. Why is S always in an argument with C? Explains what happened. Yeah, so give C the book, S. You're in grade 1. You should be working on the grade 2 book. EA. She's in grade 1 and she should be learning at the same skill level as other kids her age, and we don't want to overwhelm her. Yeah, S is a pretty stupid kid anyways. You should just not waste money on giving her the books and just give them to C. Mom and Dad paid for these books for S so that S could study. I've already given them a solution as to sharing it if C grabs a lined piece of paper and works with her. C screeches about wanting the book desperately. I'm getting frustrated. You can't have it, buddy. She doesn't even deserve to go to school. Just keep her at home. She's too stupid to learn anything anyways. What about the fact that your son basically pisses everyone off on the daily by just yelling and telling the breadwinners of the house to get out of their respected rooms in the house? How dare you say that about my angel? He doesn't do anything to you kids, and you guys never include him when you guys play. I remember asking him if he wanted to play with us this morning, and he told me he doesn't like me. I'm not going to entertain his shenanigans anymore, so let go of S and let her do her work. Note C has been screeching throughout this conversation between me and EA while S was sitting there quietly. S has literally said nothing since you arrived. C has pulled on her hair already, and I haven't yelled at him. So discipline your son and leave S be. Shut the frick up! I'm the adult here! You and S never listen to what I have to say! Yeah, okay. You just told me my sister doesn't deserve an education. Cool. I'll tell Mom what happened and let's see what becomes of this. No, you listen to me right now! You'll give C the book right now! S can go learn how to cook! Realizing my EA is a deranged psycho? Grab your stuff, S. You can work in my room. EA tries to grab at the book, but I slap her hand away. How frickin' dare you touch me? That's assault! Me, a 6'1" rugby player and an avid weightlifter, proceeds to tower over her. Wanna say that again? EA backs away with a screeching C in tow. I proceeded to spend the day with S in my room, just chillin'. At the end of the day, I ended up telling my mom what happened, and since my uncle is her brother, she tried to talk out with him about the behavior of his wife and kid. He kinda just apologized for what EA did. My dad wasn't really having any more of this because C had managed to tear parts of S's workbook, so we ended up telling Uncle that they would either find living accommodations sooner or get his wife to behave appropriately around the kids. Uncle, EA, and C ended up moving out 2 weeks later. Me and my uncle still talk. I just choose not to associate with EA and C. Maybe in the future if they fix their act, I might be more empathetic, but I just didn't want to hear about my sister not deserving to go to school. Alright, so let me get this straight. First of all, this is one of the most entitled parents I've ever seen on this subreddit. And I read a lot on this subreddit! Like, first of all, you're staying in someone else's house as a guest, and you are insulting their child, calling them stupid, cussing out the children there after your son is being a little hellspawn, and then think you still deserve the right to be there? Blows me away what these entitled parents are doing sometimes, dude. Oh my god. Hey guys, first post in the sub and figured I'd dig out an oldie but goldie with me and my brother. This was, I'd say, about 6 or 7 years ago, so some details may not be exact, but I'll tell the story as best I can without embellishing too hard. Now for some context, my brother has a disability that does make him fall into the classification of being mentally retarded, but he is far from such. He's a great person with a wonderful personality, and his disability simply causes him to have some minor issues and a speech impediment. But since the way the testing for mental handicaps is done in the state we lived in is pretty garbage, so he got that nifty label thrust upon him at a young age, and it just kinda stayed. Anyways, on with the story. So as I said before, this was about 6 to 7 years ago. Me and my brother, who from here will be called A, had some extra money and a few games to dump off, so we decided to go to our local neighborhood rip-off artists who have a nice big red and white sign. You know who I mean. Well, we get there, we're browsing around, seeing what's what, and perusing the wall of games. That's when enter stage left, entitled Mom. We'll call her Karen because why not? EM gets a little stale, you know? And her precious walking ball of afterbirth, we'll call him FA henceforth, waltz into the store. Now, I'm usually a pretty chill guy, don't get into confrontation and mind my own business. My brother's the exact same way. But when this lady and her kid, I mean, I guess you could call it a kid, kind of looked like the Kool-Aid Man and the Pillsbury Doughboy had some sort of weird incest. You know what, we'll just chalk it up to his mom birthed him under some power lines or something. Walked in. I just knew there was gonna be an issue. The whole thing started when they came over to the game wall and started looking near us. Of course, me and my brother, being polite, we stepped back out of the way to give them room. This was the first interaction. Moves back. Excuse me, could you not? I'm sorry, what was that? I said, could you not? Could I not what? I'm not doing anything, I just moved out of the way to give y'all room to walk. Egg grunts in agreement. Well, you should have just walked away. You seem to be done looking anyways. No ma'am, we're not. We're just being polite. Well, I would appreciate it if you two would go away. You're disturbing my son's browsing. Yeah, get lost, losers. You don't even look like you could afford a decent game anyways. He snorts as he laughs. I'm very peaceful, so I throw my hands up, say screw it, and grab a couple games. I believe I grabbed Hitman Absolution and Fallout New Vegas, and headed to look at some other stuff in the store. Anything to get as far away from Karen and her microwaved hamster as I could. So we cruised the store a bit longer, and then headed to checkout. Now my brother rarely, and I mean rarely, wants to actually interact with people when we go shopping. But today, he was feeling fresh, so he asked me if he could pay and such. Me being the cool older bro I am, I was like, hell yeah! Anything to help him branch out and be a bit more sociable, you know? Then wouldn't you know it, Karen and the walking turd get in line behind us. Now this wouldn't have been so bad had she not audibly groaned at the sight of us, then proceeded to huff every moment that passed. My brother was doing his best to articulate and pay, and doing a superb job, to be honest, when all of a sudden from the peanut gallery I hear, "Oh my god, could someone hurry this retard up? I would like to get home sometime today." Yeah, hurry up, you tard. I want to get home so I can play some GTA. I assumed the little turd was buying GTA. I didn't really pay attention. We tried our best to ignore them, and they continued to carry on as transaction went on. It was taking a bit because the guy at the counter was new. Brother had issues, and it was just a whole comedy of errors. It happens. It's life. Well, after about the 5th time of her calling him retarded, I was about ready to turn around and say something. Then, that's when my brother comes up. He stands tall, looks this lady dead in the eye, and literally says the following. "Lady, I may be retarded, but at least my mama didn't birth a perfectly normal kid that walks around looking like he's got the downs." Frickin' mic drop, and walks away. The duo just stands there, slack-jawed as all get out, and unable to articulate a response as we walk out. I'm just laughing hysterically and high-fiving the heck out of my bro, because that was a Class A clapback. Heck, even the store employee had to take a minute for himself, because he was not ready for that. This lady and her son are literally scum of the earth. Like, why would you make fun of a mentally disabled kid who's trying to live his life and actually do something that he doesn't have to do? Like how do you think you would have felt if you were in that situation, Miss EM, if you ever see this? And also, tell your son that, he can suck my dick. This was a few months ago when I was working at a friend's guitar store. We had just gotten a vintage Stratocaster from an estate sale, which was really expensive, like around $15,000, because it was made in 1959. The day we got it, we put it on display and are trying to sell it in an auction style, where we go to the highest bidder. This is where EM and ES come into the picture. I worked a 4-hour shift that day, and it was getting late, so I decided it was almost time to close up, because my superior said that I can close up if it's after 7:30 p.m. So just as I was about to lock the store and go home, EM and ES walk in. EM asked me if her son can try out some guitars. I say sure, and asked if they were planning on buying a guitar. She just kind of looks at me and scoffs and says, "No." At this point, I'm kind of pissed with her for being rude to me, and her son looks about 10 or 11, which was about the age that I started playing guitar, so I let the kid try out some guitars and thought they'd be in and out. Boy, was I wrong. Just as they were about to leave, the kid sees the Stratocaster in the display near the front of the shop. He asked if he could play it. I try to tell the kid that it's really expensive, and no one's allowed to touch it, and that I couldn't let him play it if he wanted to. Apparently this triggered something in EM. She looks at me and asks, "Why can't ES play that guitar?" And I try to explain to her that it's for an auction and that my superiors have extensive rules on who gets to open the case, and that I don't even have access to the key. Either way, when the kid tried out the normal guitars, he messed with the tuning pegs and was really reckless towards them, which made me afraid of what would happen if he touched the Stratocaster. Then the conversation goes something like this. EM is entitled mom, him is me. "Well, you work here, so why don't you have a key?" "I just don't have a key. Only my boss and my manager do." "Well, why can't you call them and get it?" "Ma'am, I'm about to close up and I have specific instructions not to let anyone touch the guitar." EM starts getting pissed. This is when the worst thing happens. I look back at the display and I see ES touching the display case and trying to open the case where the lock is. I ask him politely not to touch it, and then he legit bangs on the glass of the display, causing it to crack the glass on it. He bangs on it more, which actually shatters the glass by the lock. At this point, I grab the kid by his shoulders and turn him around and tell him his mother will have to pay for the cracked case. The kid starts wailing, which sets off EM even more. She starts threatening me and saying she'll press charges for assault. The kid is screaming his head off and kicking and screaming, and EM is threatening to make me lose my job. I finally get them to leave, but apparently EM called the owner, whose number they probably found on our website, and told them a twisted story of how I assaulted her child. Fortunately, my friend who owns the store checked all of the cameras and called them back, as well as the police, to make them pay for the display case that got damaged. Luckily, this is my only experience with an EM and an ES. Phew. I guess since that all I am is just a disappointment to my family and everyone I know, I wouldn't understand what it's like to have a parent that thinks you are just so great that you can do whatever you want without getting punished. First damaging someone else's property, then lying to store owners to try and get someone fired. Like, can you really get worse than that? You broke the rules. Own up to it. Don't be like these people. Don't. I'm serious. Anyway, guys, that's all for today's episode of r/entitled parents. Let me know if you want to see more by hitting that like and subscribe button. At 50 subscribers, I'm going to be sharing one of my own personal entitled parent stories, and I have quite a few of them, and I will tell you it's a good one. So if you're interested in hearing about that, please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll try and get that to you as soon as I can. I'll see all you beautiful people later.